The Indianapolis Colts just handed a quarterback who was cut, benched, and left for dead a $100 million contract. Not a second chance, a $100 million second chance. Daniel Jones just did the impossible. He went from the Giants' third stringer to signing a 2-year deal worth up to $100 million, the largest average annual value for a 2-year contract in NFL history. And he did it while rehabbing a torn Achilles, and that is not even the craziest part of this story. Before we get into the $100 million deal, you need to understand exactly how far down Daniel Jones had fallen, because without that context, none of this makes sense. The Giants picked Jones 6th overall in the 2019 NFL Draft out of Duke, a top 10 pick, massive expectations. The Giants built a future around him. Then they gave him a 4-year, $160 million extension. $160 million. That is how much they believed in him. Then everything collapsed. Jones suffered a neck injury in 2023, then a torn ACL that ended his season entirely. When he came back in 2024, the Giants benched him 10 games into the season. They moved him to third string behind Tommy DeVito. Third string. Jones had to ask the Giants to release him, and they did. Just like that, a $160 million quarterback was unemployed. He signed with the Minnesota Vikings practice squad for the rest of 2024, not the starting roster, the practice squad. That is how low things had gotten. Then the Indianapolis Colts called. In March 2025, the Colts signed Jones to a 1-year deal worth $14 million. That is it. 1 year, prove yourself. And there was another massive problem waiting for Jones the second he walked through across and saw Anthony Richardson. Richardson was the Colts' own first-round pick, the 4th overall pick from the 2023 NFL Draft, a physical freak with a cannon arm. The Colts had invested everything in Richardson. He was supposed to be their future. And now Jones was walking into that building and competing against him for the starting job. Everyone assumed Richardson would win. He was younger. He was the team's guy. He had the physical tools that scouts dream about. Jones was just a bridge option, a placeholder while Richardson figured things out. That is not what happened. Jones beat Richardson in training camp and took the starting job. And then he proved every single doubter wrong on the biggest stage possible. Remember that $100 million contract? Here is why the Colts paid it. Daniel Jones came out in 2025 and put together the best football of his life. He completed 68% of his passes. He averaged 8.1 yards per attempt. His passer rating was 100.2, all career highs. Every single one. More importantly, he won games. The Colts started the season 8-2. That is not a fluke. That is a quarterback leading a team to one of the best starts in the AFC. The offense was so explosive that at the midpoint of the year, it was ranked as the most dangerous offense in the entire NFL. In just 13 games, Jones racked up 3,101 passing yards and 24 total touchdowns, 19 through the air and 5 on the ground. He wasn't just a pocket passer, he was the engine of a Shane Steichen offense that, for the first 10 weeks, led the NFL in points per game at 31.7. He was 104 yards short of his career high for passing yards and 6 touchdowns away from his personal best, all while playing 3 fewer games than a full season. The Colts looked like a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Jones was the reason why. Then everything stopped. Week 14, December 7th. Jones went down with a torn Achilles tendon against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Season over. The Colts lost 3 of their final 4 games and finished 8-9, missing the playoffs entirely. And now the question was simple. Do the Colts pay a quarterback who just tore his Achilles? Do they commit $100 million to a player coming off one of the worst injuries a quarterback can suffer? Here is what they decided. The Colts placed the transition tag on Jones before the March 3rd deadline. The Colts used the transition tag on Jones, worth $37.833 million. It was a high-stakes chess move. It protected them from losing him for nothing, but it didn't give them draft picks if he left. They had to get a long-term deal done. That alone told you how much Indianapolis valued him. But both sides wanted something longer. Negotiations dragged on. Reports surfaced that the two sides were far apart as recently as a week before the deal got done. There were moments where it looked like this might fall apart completely. It did not fall apart. On March 11, 2026, Daniel Jones signed a 2-year, $88 million extension worth up to $100 million with incentives, the largest 2-year contract in NFL history. Here are the details. Jones gets $50 million in 2026. That is $12.2 million more than the transition tag alone. He gets $38 million in 2027. He has $50 million fully guaranteed at signing and $60 million guaranteed for injury. And he can earn an extra $12 million through incentives tied to wins, playoff rounds, and Super Bowl performance. A $1 million bonus if the Colts win the Super Bowl with him on the field. When Jones appeared on the Pat McAfee show after the deal was announced, he said, "I'm fired up to be back, and definitely grateful for the opportunity." Colts GM Chris Ballard backed him up publicly. He said Jones has not missed a single day since the injury. He comes into the building every day, sits in every meeting, and rehabs harder than anyone on the staff expected. Ballard's exact words, "He rehabs like a wild man." Jones says his goal is to be back for Week 1 of the 2026 season. One source close to the team told ESPN that Jones will absolutely be ready for training camp. Now, here is the part of this story that nobody saw coming 3 years ago. Anthony Richardson, 4th overall pick, built like a linebacker and throws like a rocket. The guy the Colts were supposed to build their entire future around, he lost a training camp battle to a quarterback who had been cut by his previous team, and now he is being traded away for what might be a 5th or 6th round pick. Think about that. A 4th overall pick, gone for a late round pick. Richardson suffered a fractured orbital bone in a freak pregame accident in Week 6 of 2025, which ended his season. Even before the injury, he was the backup. He had lost the job to Jones fair and square. NFL insider Tom Pelissero laid it out straight on the Rich Eisen show. He said Richardson knows he has zero path back to being the starter in Indianapolis. The Colts already told their own first-round pick that it is over. They gave Richardson's camp permission to seek a trade in February 2026. The trade market has not been kind. Multiple sources say a 5th or 6th round pick is likely the best return the Colts will get. Teams that could land him include the Minnesota Vikings, the Los Angeles Rams, and the Green Bay Packers. The Packers option is interesting because Matt LaFleur has a track record of developing quarterbacks, and Richardson would sit behind Jordan Love and learn. The Colts burned a 4th overall pick. They are getting a 6th round pick back. That is one of the steepest falls in recent NFL draft history. Go back to where this started. The $100 million deal, the largest 2-year contract in NFL history, given to a quarterback who was sitting on a practice squad 16 months ago. The Colts did not stop there. The Colts backed up the truck for Alec Pierce with a 4-year, $114 million extension. He's now the highest-paid free agent receiver in franchise history. By trading Michael Pittman Jr. to the Steelers and Zaire Franklin to the Packers, the Colts have officially handed the keys of the franchise to the Jones-Pierce duo. Pierce led the entire NFL in yards per reception in both 2024 and 2025. He averaged 21.3 yards per catch in 2025. He reportedly took slightly less than his market value specifically to help bring Jones back to Indianapolis. The Colts then traded Michael Pittman Jr. to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a late-round pick, freeing up $24 million in cap space. They signed linebacker Arden Key on a 2-year, $20 million deal. They traded linebacker Zaire Franklin to the Green Bay Packers for defensive lineman Colby Wooden. This is a franchise going all in. Jones and Pierce are the core. Everything else is being built around them. The Colts started 8-2 last season before the injury ended it. They missed the playoffs at 8-9. If Jones comes back healthy for Week 1 of 2026, the AFC better pay attention. A quarterback once left for dead in New York now holds the biggest 2-year deal in NFL history. The Colts are betting everything on him, and based on what he showed in 2025 before that Achilles snapped, it might just be the smartest bet in the league.